Well, good evening. My next project is going to be this HMV model 46 from about 1947. Bit of an issue with this, I think. I can't find the right schematic for it. I've found one, but it's got a different valve in it, so not sure what's going on. But anyway, case is in really good nick, really good condition. Scale's good. Yeah, not a lot of issues with that. I pulled it apart about 12 months ago, and something happened, I don't know, and I just left it. I didn't finish it off. I didn't even start it. So I pulled some of the parts out and shoved it back in the case, and that's it. So I don't think I even looked at it. So I'm just going to pull it out. It's all undone, so I don't have to do anything there. And there you go. Alright, looks pretty good in there. It's remarkably clean. There's no rust on it. There's, yeah, very good. Built-in antenna. It's a 4-valve set, so it's going to be a little bit, performance is going to be a little bit down, but that's not too bad. It's just medium wave. There's no short wave or anything like that. But looks remarkably good. In fact, that's one of the best radios I've seen as far as its condition goes. Speaker looks alright. A bit of a crease there, it's not cracked, and a bit of a bubble there. Maybe the wire's pushing on it behind there. Sounds good. There's no graunching of voice coils in there. Oh dear. Oh, there's a what's that? It says there's a sticker with Newman 3961. So I wonder if that's the guy that inspected it or when it was made. Don't know. Maybe a repairer later on put their name on it so they knew who worked on it. I don't know. There you go. It has got a there's a sticker there from a repairer in Brunswick, a suburb of Melbourne, and just by the very short and prefix with letters, phone number. Then it's obviously. I lived there. I lived down there. I lived a couple of suburbs away from Brunswick back in the 50s, and that's when they changed the numbers. Removed the letters and actually put numbers on the phone numbers. So, all right, let's flip it over. It's interesting. It's got. I can see 3 electrolytic capacitors. 1, 2, 3. So it's a bit unusual. I usually stick them all in one package, one of the aluminium packages, so I don't know what they're doing there. This was just after the war, so who knows what was going on. So there, let's see what we got there. Looks pretty good. Pretty original looking caps there. They're all the old wax caps. Some old mica caps. So there's that one's a later model. That's probably in the 50s. That one. I would think. I wouldn't have thought that'd go back to the mid 40s. So it looks very neat and tidy and very original. Look at that. There's too many of these electrolytics. There's 3 on the sticking out the top, and there's these 2 here. So I've just peeled that up, and I can see. Hang on, I'll just grab the camera. I don't know if I'm going to focus on that or not. Yeah, a bit hard to see there, isn't it? This one here is that's the one of the electrolytics off the top. It's been disconnected, so they've put a replacement capacitor in there to replace that. So even if they have, it was done very early in the piece, because these are pretty old caps. There's a bit of work been done there that those two caps are joined together, which seems odd. It really does seem odd. I don't know why would you put two caps together. I don't know. Anyway, someone's done some work to it there. I'm just thinking, I wonder if we could turn it on. Just looks pretty good. I've had a look at the cord before, and the cord's all in very good condition. Actually, it's coloured, quite flexible. I'd say this radio's never been stored in a shed like most of them have. I reckon I might give it a shot, see what it does. Eh? What can go wrong? It's only a 60, 70-year-old radio. Alright, so I've plugged it in. Now what I'm going to do, let's see if I can swing that around. I'll not be able to get the watt meter in. There we go. I've got a watt meter here. Yeah, and a variac. So I'll just slowly wind the power on, and we'll see how long. Sorry, well, we can't. This isn't going to register till we get up to about 50 volts anyway. So I do have a dim bulb tester, but I just haven't got it connected at the moment. So alright, so I'm putting some power on. There's no smoke. I wonder how long since this radio's run. 20 years? 10 years? I'm up to 100. What are we reading there? Nothing. No. Really? That doesn't seem right, because I can see some bit of a glow there. Hang on. Go a bit higher. Can't possibly be nothing. Oh, wait on, there we go. It's going to kill it. It's not going to do it. Hang on. It's got a reset button. I'll just do a reset. Okay. Really? 4. Okay, I'll keep going. There's nothing else, nothing adverse happening here. I can't see any smoke. I can't smell anything. 7.48. Yeah, that rectifier is definitely glowing. We're up to 180 volts, 170. $10. Not hearing anything. We're nearly at 200 volts. 11 watts. That's not pulling too much power, so that's good. 12.5. I'm up to 200 volts. 14.6. Wow. Because we operate here on about 230 to 240 volts, so I'm on, when I say here, I'm in Australia, so I'm on about 230, 18.7, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Volts, 228, okay. I'll just pull that up a tiny bit. There you go. That's our watts, 19 watts. Probably about right, isn't it? I can't hear anything. Oh, it's got a bit of a hum. Hang on. Actually, not much hum. Oh. Yeah, it's getting some interference. So let me put a knob on this. I can't. It's too hard to turn at the moment. Tell you what would help would be if I put an aerial on it, wouldn't it? Just hang on a sec. Which one's the aerial? Hang on. wow. Well, there you go. How about that?
Sydney has its Balmain bugs, which are a little bit different in shape. It's an argument which is better. But yes, Moreton Bay bugs are definitely, you'll see them on Melbourne menus and other places around Australia.
Would you say that Queensland's culinary scene greatly...
In case you're wondering, Moreton Bay bugs are a crayfish. Or a, sort of a lobster. They're a crustacean. They're not little bugs.
Oh, well, he's the bright man. A racing pigeon named Armando has fetched a record $2 million.
Well, it's picking up some interference here. I'm not sure what that's from.
Understanding that you entered a clinical environment and that induces anxiety. Our clinical treatment is something about being sitting in a quiet.
It's got a lot of noise in there. I'm not sure what that is. I'll find out, I suppose.
They, as I said, they come down in semi-trailers and go through Rockley markets or further on to Sydney and Melbourne, or we stick them on a plane and we export them. Now that's really important.
Well, that's pretty amazing. It actually sounds...
Look at that end of the food market that says what's really special.
Sounds fine. There's not... I don't think it's getting its full volume potential, but it's working. I could just about dust it off and put it back in the case, I think. I guess I won't. I don't know if that noise, that interference is something I've got running here.
Ultimate at your local BP before your next road trip.
Yeah, we don't normally have that, so I don't know what that is. Anyway, that's great. I'm surprised and impressed. I've got that on no volume there, or minimum volume. I don't know if you can hear that, but there is virtually no hum, which means those smoothing caps are doing their job. So I guess that's the difference between keeping it indoors and putting it out in the shed for 10 years and spilling paint all over it. When I say shed, I mean workshop. Alright, well I don't know what to do now. That glass is loose, I better get that safe somewhere before I drop it. It'll need a clean up. I'll change the capacitors as I normally do. There's really no value in leaving them there to, ultimately they will fail one day. So, but I reckon I can just almost brush and wipe that off with something, and that'll about do it. Just clean it up, put some new caps in it, test some voltages, make sure it's all good, and then it's finished. That'll be an easy one. Alright, well, here's the schematic. I'll just have a quick run through. This seems to be the right one. It says it's the number 46, model 46. There's two model 46. There's a 46B, which is the Bakelite, and a 46W, which I assume is the wooden cabinet. But this one's got a 6G, 8G as the AVC demodulator IF valve, whereas mine's got an EVF35. So I don't think they're completely interchangeable. They do the same job, but I suspect the pinouts and certainly the voltage and the requirements that the valve would need won't be the same as what's in my set. So I'll have to go and work out what the difference is between the two, and then come back to this. But yeah, so 4-valve set, and of course this one's got the IF, got the AVC and the demodulator all in one valve, and there's no preamp, of course, for the 6V6 output. So You know, a little less powerful than some of the other, or certainly a 5-valve. But it's very popular. Obviously, this design worked for a couple of years, and after the war, it was cheap and it did the job. People could afford that sort of thing. I'll just look for those electrolytics. There's one there I can see. There's two down there, of course, on the B plus supply. So there's three on the top, and well, there's two on the top and two on the bottom. There's three on the bottom. So that's your grid bias there, and there's one here as well. So that's coming off the screen. Yeah, that's the screen. Yep. So just a cap in there. So I can only see 1, 2, 3. I can only see 4. So I'll have to go through this radio itself and just see what the difference is there. But it's good. Okay, got a loop antenna, which is pretty unusual for an Australian radio. I weren't in very many, certainly not in this era. And interestingly, the IF is 457.5. So I'd like to see anyone dial that up on an analog signal generator. Well, good morning. It's Good Friday here in Australia, and Good Friday all over the world. We're a bit ahead of everybody else, so we're a bit earlier than you guys, or most of you guys. Just having a look at these electrolytics and the wax caps today. This morning, I'm not going to go through the entire process of replacing them. I did that once just for fun, in case anyone wanted to see how I did it. Not necessarily the right way, just the way I do it. And I'm just going to show you. Yesterday we looked at this capacitor here had been disconnected and replaced with this this big one here. So I'm going to replace that. That's a very straightforward little replacement. Some people say I'll just reform them if they're going to work, or this one has got very little hum, so they're probably all working pretty well. But just look at that. Can we see it? That's starting to. Yeah, well, it's just crisp. So I'm going to replace that one. So I think it's best practice to just change them all. This one here had me puzzled for a while. It's rated at 16 microfarad, but it's got 3 terminals on the bottom of it, and I mean normally you would expect that to be have multiple capacitors in it, but it's only got one value, and that's 16, and it's only 16 on the schematic as well. So that had me going for a minute. But I'll just flip this over and I'll show you. So there's the top of it. It says 16 microfarad, and then it's occurred to me this has actually got a cardboard cover over the aluminium can, and it's mounted on a Bakelite base there. So the can is actually insulated from the chassis. This one's interesting, and this is the one they replaced years ago with that large one laying across the top, and it's disconnected on the terminal on the bottom, but it's starting to bulge out the top of its can. So yeah, that didn't last long in the life. The other thing, I also went over all the wiring, and it's rubber wiring, but it's still fairly reasonably flexible. But this one here is the insulation's come away from that, so I'll replace that. It's coming away down here. This bit of rubber is particularly crusty, whereas most of the other stuff's not too bad. So this one here with its 3 terminals is simply the positive on this one, and these 2 here are the negatives. And I'll just show you on the schematic where that comes in. So there's our 16 microfarad cap sitting there. There's the negative side, and as you can see, it goes off to a resistor, and up here it goes off to another 10 meg resistor as well. So that's why they're held above ground, because they don't. The negative side doesn't actually go straight to ground. There's the 8 meg. That's going straight to ground, and those 2 are bridged together with that just that link, bit of soldered link on there. So it's all come clear now. I couldn't work out why it was had the 3 terminals, but there they are. There's one, and 2 and 3. I've got all the capacitors I need. I've got a 16 there, 16, and the others are just 10s. I think there are 8s on here, but I don't have 8s. So I'll replace those, that one, and these 2. So that's the 4 caps in the circuit. And I'm going to change these wax caps as well. They may well be alright, but it's not worth leaving in there. I need to go recheck, and I'll replace the wires up leading up to those the dial lights. That's gone particularly hard for some reason. But this stuff here is not too bad. I wouldn't want to flex it too far, but if we leave it alone, I think it'll be alright. I'm partway through replacing the capacitors and some of the wiring. This wire here coming out of this IF can is damaged. I need to replace that. So I've got a couple of ideas. One is I remove this the clip of the good cap and just remove the outer casing of the wire here and perhaps slide on another bit of casing that I've removed off some other wire. So I can do that. I'm not too sure about that. The obvious thing is to take this can off. I suppose that's probably the easiest. So I'm not sure which way to go. I might see how easy that is to come off. If it just comes off easily, well, that'll probably be the best option. There's 2 nuts there. Now there is an issue because these wires are right up against that nut. Now I usually would use a nut runner to just undo them, like a screwdriver with a socket on it. So I don't want to bend these wires. They're not all that flexible anymore. So I'm just trying if I can just get enough clearance there. I can't. So I was going to put the nut runner on there. But have to move that out of the way. Wow. Maybe I'll just undo it with the pliers. It's quite loose, so it's coming off the right. Oh, okay. Let's see what happens there. Now the other thing is whether the outer can, the aluminium can's been attached to the inner coils or not. Sometimes they put a little crimp in there to capture it. Just going to leave that there. Let the can fall down so I don't have to push those wires up so much. Yeah, I think that's exactly what's happened there. Captured. If this doesn't work, I think I'll go back to just changing insulation. I could put some heat shrink on it. Nah, I can see there where they've turned the aluminium's been pushed over the top of the Bakelite there. So maybe at this point, just give this away, this idea. I'll go the other way, and if I have to, I can actually get in there and bend them down, bend them out of the way to release them. So I'll just leave that there for a second. I'll come back and tighten those properly. Attempt to remove this clip here and take the insulation off. I think I started to say I could put some heat shrink on, but heat shrink never really looks authentic. So I'll slip out of there. Some pliers. I can always unsolder the bottom of the can and take the whole thing out. There we go. Good. Now, bit of luck. It will come off. And that's a bit unfortunate. I left the bit down the bottom, which is really what I wanted to get. Okay, there's still some in there. Excuse me. There's still some in there. Right down here. That's pretty much what I thought would happen. Alright. Just trying to break away what's inside there to let me get the new stuff down there. Okay, so this is quite a bit thicker than what it's. Well, it's not that. I say it's a bigger diameter. It's got that solder on the end. Of course, that's making it a bit fatter, I suppose, at the end. Feel the solder grabbing it. I thought I was creasing it up, but I don't think I am. No. Alright, I'll just cut this off till I come to the wire. There's the wire. Alright. So a bit more wire showing through. There we go. We're back. I've just cleaned this clip up here. Just going to try and solder it very carefully. Crump it down. And that'll do. There, that looks pretty good. I don't think I lost any length off the wire. I might have snapped a little bit off the end here. So that looks great. Okay, done that. Now, something else. When I was I started pulling the valves out to clean it, and these ones have come off. They're based, the adhesive's gone. Now, I got this from the internet. I don't know this little idea. It seems to work, but I've just got some nail polish, clear, and people say to use that, so I have been using it, and I gotta say it works pretty good. I don't know how it works, it just gets in there. Some people suggest it loosens the resins that they used originally. I suspect that doesn't really happen. I suspect it just glues it in. So let's try and work it in a bit there. So if I leave that for a fair while, a little while, it'll set pretty good, and it has worked. I've done it before and come back later on, and the tube's quite secure in there. Got a bit on the glass there, but anyway. Yeah, I just let that sit for a while and let it cure. I've finished changing the capacitors. They came up pretty good. I can't complain about them. So there we are. So there wasn't that many of them. These are the electrolytics I did, and luckily I was able to use one of the existing tabs that was vacant, so I was able to anchor that one on there. With this wire going off to the goes to resistor and then the choke, I think. Yeah, so that's come up quite neat. It's quite sturdy, not going anywhere, it doesn't rattle. My microphone was getting bad, and now it's failed completely, so I'll voice over this bit. I was just showing you here the chassis come up very, very clean. It's almost as good as the day it came out of the factory. There's not a mark on it. It's been plated. It's really good. The old cord, I'm going to keep that. I'll keep the radio as original as I can. The other issue I have here is the back plates cracked. It's got a big crack along there, but I'm going to put some super glue in there, and I'll just run a line along, and that'll wick into the crack. It's the gel version, but so it'll fill the little voids in there, but it'll still wick through. So just applying a line there to the crack, and I've let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'm just wiping the excess off, because that'll take hours to dry if I don't get rid of that. The other issue I have is this backing for the dial is it's faded, so I'm going to respray that now, and I'm going to respray the pointer as well. And I've finished spraying it now, so it's come up pretty good. I've cleaned the glass with some water very gently, just to make sure I don't wipe off the markings. The glass is held in with 4 tabs. I've put a bit of heat shrink on each of the tabs to act as a cushion, and now I've just got to very, very carefully bend the tabs over enough to grip the glass, or hold the glass anyway, stop it falling out. I left a little bit of a gap, so it's still a bit loose, to let it expand and contract without breaking. I'd noticed that the drive roller for the tuning was slipping, and had difficulty driving it, particularly if you went up one end, it would slip, you couldn't get the tuner back. So I removed it and checked the remaining system, and that was very tight in itself, so there's no wonder the drive roller was slipping. I pulled that drum off, which is driven by the drive roller, just to check the tuning capacitor, make sure that was free, or try and work out where the stiffness was, but that was fine. I then addressed the drive roller that was slipping on its little spline shaft, so I put some super glue on there and push it down. The super glue is pretty good for this sort of rubber. It's we use it for O-rings to join them, and that holds pretty good. Just push that back down again, and I'll let the adhesive set. What I will do is put it in my drill and just file off the hardened outer case of the roller there once it's set. What I did find was that the 4 little rollers that the cord is directed around on were very tight, very stiff to turn, so I added a bit of oil to try and free them up, and then put some grease in there to provide some oil supply over the coming years. And it's made an enormous difference. So I just had to do the other 3 rollers. Then the adhesive's dried. I let it dry for a couple of hours, and I've run it in the drill and just taken the edges off that, well, the outside edge of the rubber to try and get some suppleness back, and it's not too bad. So I'm just going to reassemble it. I've got to make sure it's got some lubricant on it without getting the lubricant on the rubber. That would be a disaster if I did that. So I'm just lubricating all the parts as I reassemble it. And the back plate goes on. There's an adjuster on this drive assembly. It's got one screw is fixed and the other one has a slot, so you can adjust the tension onto the or the pressure onto the big drum there. So I've just tensioned that up, and it's fantastic. It's working perfectly. Look at that, I can zip up and down the dial in mere seconds now. Very good outcome.